message is very, very simple. We want to educate the kids, not indoctrinate them.
Period. End of story. I'm sick of hearing this sort of nonsense from these people.
She doesn't want these projects in her backyard, in Warringah. She wants them in yours.
Ridiculous. You know? Shame on you people. You know? You've been here for 10 seconds and you think you're going to run the joint.
And I still find it offensive because they still keep on talking about how Australia's got this racist underbelly. No, we don't.
We should be energy independent here in Australia. We've got everything.
My confidence in Australians has just been restored.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Commanding the Narrative. My name is Stephen Tripp, joined by Mr. Sam Buono. How are you, Sam?
Good, mate, buddy. How are you going?
I'm very well, thank you.
Been a long week.
Yes, it's been flat out.
Yeah,
there's always something big going on, and
bit of a rush today, but
what's
miscommunication.
Going on? You rock up 3 minutes beforehand.
It's 3 minutes beforehand. I was busy away in my office, and I got a phone call from someone 10 minutes ago. Luckily, running around
as if you have an office.
You'd be surprised. It's an open.
I've made a few phone calls.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to up the game here and replace you. And Rob Cribb's gonna sit in for us.
Oh, fair enough. Okay, fair enough.
Richard Storch, thank you for welcoming us again to this palace of yours. It's a very nice home, but I get the sense that this is where good souls come to die.
It's a beautiful place.
A little bit like the Libertarian Party.
Yes, exactly.
Very, very nice location and a very wet week of Sydney weather. Just looking out to the east now, it is bucketing at the moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's correct. Well, let's start things off like we always do, just letting everyone know about Buy Me a Coffee if you want to support us. We haven't had too many Buy Me a Coffees lately. I don't know what's going on there, but if you do want to support us, head to Buy Me a Coffee and throw us a few dollars. It helps pay for the stream and a few other things. So be much appreciated if you could go there and support us. And also, I'm wearing the new Commanding the Narrative t-shirt. If you head to xcandidates.tshirts.net.au, the site is right here, and you can get your own Commanding the Narrative or X-Candidates t-shirt. We got them in. This is the new the X-Candidates. I'll get rid of that and bring up, that's the X-Candidates t-shirt, which is they fit really well. It's actually very good quality. I was surprised at how good the quality.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, it's really, feel that fabric, Sam.
Oh, nice quality, mate. Nice quality.
If you're a wrestling fan, you might like this Commanding the Narrative NWO style t-shirt. Now, Sam, I know we talk a lot about your t-shirts on the show and everything like that.
Yeah.
So I've gone out of my way to make sure that you're well dressed for these shows in the future.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Here you go. Put that one on.
Oh, black too. God,
I've got my own one. I'll be wearing this next time. You can get your own Sam Buono t-shirt.
Excellent.
Do you want me to wear it now?
Yeah, wear it now. I don't do these things for nothing. So, yes, xcandidates.tshirts.net.au if you want to. And Adam, Zara in the chat said that looks great.
Thanks, mate. I'll ring you soon too, Adam. We need to talk about some certain issues.
Can you stand up and give everyone a show? Like do a little parade or something like that?
Is Tanya there?
I don't know. Adam says have to make a Richard one. I said the same thing. I don't know what we can do for you, Richard, but we'll have to come up with something.
No, I'm the clown of this place. Richard Straight and Narrow.
Richard Straight and Narrow. I talk about a lot lately this photo competition that the National Rational Energy Network are doing. You can win $1,000 if you have a photo of a renewable project that's nearby or that you know of that is causing some environmental damage or destruction. We really want to get that sort of stuff out there so people know what's going on in specifically regional and rural communities. So you can go into the draw to win $1,000. Now, the night that we are going to announce this, or the afternoon that we're going to announce this, is going to be an upcoming forum. I can announce that tickets are now on sale. It's the Environment and Energy Forum. It's going to be at the DYRSL on the 2nd of June this year. It's going to be between 1 and 5 p.m. You can head to Eventbrite. I'll put the link in the show notes and everything like that. $20, $5 for concession, but just $20. We're going to have Malcolm Roberts from One Nation come and speak, Barnaby Joyce from the National Party, also from the IPA, Dr. Peter Ridd's going to be there, Daniel Wild, Brianna McKee. They do some excellent work at the IPA, the Institute of Public Affairs. We're going to be speaking about nuclear energies. Professor Stephen Wilson's going to be there. Tony Irwin from Nuclear for Australia. Dr. Mark Ho, who's the president of the Australian Nuclear Association. Paul Vallejo will be there. Also some community farmers and community groups. It's going to be a big event. We had one last year as well that was very successful. We had about 500 people there. But please head to the Eventbrite and get your tickets now, because they might sell out. So I'll put the link in there if you want to go to that event. Will you be there, Richard?
Yep, I will be.
Yeah, you were there last year. Sam, you were there. I know that.
It's a Saturday, isn't it?
Sunday. I just confused people already.
I'm just trying to work out what we're going to say today. Then I just wasn't.
Tony is in the chat. Tony always watches our shows, right? But she's not always live. I find when you guys are on, she makes sure she's live.
It's very flattering.
Enjoy our entertainment.
Tony says, "Woohoo, Cotty!" I mean, you're winning her over. Used to be her mortal enemy. Now you're.
Time heals, they say.
Adam says, "Storch the torch." I don't know what that means, but it rhymes, I guess.
I'll ring you sometime this week, Adam, too.
Yes, you need to get in contact. Adam's gearing up for election season, so hopefully we can fire Adam up.
Make an announcement.
Adam, I think you're a little premature there. I don't think we're going to get an election this
council September.
Council, of course, yes.
Yes.
Of course.
It's only 4 months away.
Actually,
it'd be 4 months today because it's the second Saturday of September.
Yeah.
Also, I just want to do a quick plug. I did an interview last Saturday with the CRA Files. It was about 2.5 hours. I think it's a good interview. So head to the CRA Files to listen to that if you want to. He does, Adam at the CRA Files. He's on the Northern Beaches where I am as well. So he does some really good stuff. A little bit Alex Jones and almost an Australian Alex Jones, but he's a good guy, and check that one out. It's all on my social media and everything like that. But we'll get into it. We've called this one "I Am the Prime Minister."
Yeah, he hasn't had a great 2 weeks. Hasn't had a great 2 weeks, hasn't he?
Wow.
Things are compounding, isn't it?
Well, it's like he's starting to show who he really, really is.
That's right.
And this is the theme that you've cottoned onto, Stephen. It's like, when do prime ministers really expose who they really are?
Has he exposed himself?
Well, yeah, and there's nothing there.
Well, there is something there. There's an arrogance, and
no, I disagree. There's no arrogance. There's conceit, because he actually believes that he knows things.
Well, this is what I feel. I feel he rocked up to this
women's thing,
this women's march. He's gone into the crowd. He's thought to himself, "Oh, I don't need to let them know that I'm going to speak." He obviously thought he was going to speak because he had a prepared speech. Firstly, why do you rock up to a rally? If you're the Prime Minister and you can't rock up to a rally and speak from the heart, you have to prepare a speech.
Yeah, that's right. You can't put 20 words together and things like that.
Well, he doesn't read anything. This is what people keep saying. He doesn't read stuff.
Yeah.
But I think this is what was in his head. He thought that he could march with them, go to the front of the crowd, stand there, and they would all go, "Oh, the Prime Minister is here. Anthony Albanese is here. Please, here's the microphone. Please speak." And then he could stand up there, bask in the glory, maybe take one of his little selfies, and that he would be adored. But it didn't work out that way. And this Sarah Williams, I think she's got a lot of courage by standing there and treating him like he should be treated. Hey, you are the Prime Minister, but you're just like everyone else.
That's right.
Get in line.
Well, I know it's politics and all that sort of stuff like that, boy. Whoever advised him to show up.
Well, I reckon he was advised
and
not to.
one of the senior people on the PR group is one ex-person from The Guardian. I think she got it wrong too. She didn't quite read the room too.
Yeah, but you're presuming he took the advice. I think he was advised not to, and he went ahead and did it anyway.
Oh, gee.
Well, for people that haven't seen it, let's bring it up. We'll play
Do
it.
you think Gallagher looked a bit embarrassing in the background?
I think she just looked like a stone mullet.
As women around the
didn't know
country
what she was
gathered to march at the weekend, they were joined by the Prime Minister, who walked with the crowd and listened. When the rally called for the federal government to do more, he wanted to respond. Rally organiser Sarah Williams let the crowd decide whether he should speak.
I mean,
Look at it. Look at him. Look at it. He's just shaking his head. He's like,
And
he really believes I'm the Prime Minister. Like, I'm here and you're not letting me speak. Like, he treated her with absolute contempt.
yeah, well, he just thinks that he's so much better than everybody else, and that he's this incredible man of substance, and it's so far removed from reality. It's just not funny.
Yeah. Oh, while everyone talks about Albo, but for me, the whole thing was just the look of Katie Gallagher's in the background saying, "What the hell?"
But she's the Minister for Women,
Supposedly, yeah.
and she didn't step in and say anything.
No,
She can't expect
But
it in public.
you meant to be standing up for women.
Yeah.
Like I'll play a little bit more because this. It's not just the first part where he's saying I'm the Prime Minister.
with
It's
microphone in
the
hand,
whole
the
thing.
Prime Minister expressed his frustration.
To be clear, we did ask to speak, myself and Katie, and we're told that wasn't possible. And
Like
that's
you can see
fine.
Sarah's
I
face.
respect the
She's like,
organisers' right
what?
to do that.
Yeah.
And she calls him out. That's a lie.
To do that.
It's a disputed account. Sarah Williams said she
So
had
she
asked
starts
ahead of the rally
crying.
if the PM
And
wanted to
what's this
speak,
about?
but had been told he was
notices
too
that he
busy.
turns.
Prime Minister just
turns
flat out
and he
lied on a
doesn't say
national
sorry.
scale in front of the whole country.
He doesn't stop and go over and console her. Just looks at her. What's she crying for? And then keeps going.
well, to me, it's another instance of him proving that he doesn't really like people. He doesn't really know how to relate to people unless it's on his terms. And it's like when he was elected and he went to give his son a hug, and his son sort of stiffened up. It's like they're not a hugging family. It just showed straight away. It's like, there isn't that kind of warmth.
You blokes are getting the elbow, but for me, the whole thing, I said it just now, Katie Gallagher, just the look on her face said, God, this is becoming a disaster. It's a bit like that Dreyfus, remember that Dreyfus thing 6 months ago?
Oh, yeah, when the pointing.
Ripped into that girl from Sky News,
Yeah.
Olivia Casely. And I thought, gee, it's just another tick against them. It's just a tick, it's just a little bit here and a little bit there. Rome didn't fall in the day. It just takes a tick off there and a tick off there and a tick off there.
Yeah, it's like they want to put oil over the water, and there's things that poke through all the time.
If I want to defend Albo, and I think I should defend all politicians here, you don't go to these rallies. You just don't. The Greens are masters at it. That's fair enough. The Greens, that's their bread and butter.
Well,
Hang on.
I'm just talking about the politics of it.
But this is not the fault of the rally. This is Albanese that has created this situation. If he just stood there
and said
nothing, and just showed his support by just being there instead of needing to be in the limelight and have this grandiose speech, this wouldn't have been an issue. It wouldn't have been talked about.
Is that why Morrison?
Yeah, but you're presuming that he knows how to just be present.
Well, this is the point.
He doesn't.
This is the point. This is why it's such a big deal, and this is why I think he's exposed who he really is deep inside, or at least what he's become, with everyone patting him on the back, going, "Hey, you're the Prime Minister." So,
see, I don't think John Howard knew, but he knew that by simply stepping forward and being present, that was almost enough, and he sort of taught himself how to relate to people in his own way. He wasn't good at it, but he taught himself how to be present.
I still think you don't turn to these things.
Oh, definitely, sir.
Definitely don't.
Definitely.
Just you're on the hiding enough. There's no gain in it. Absolutely no gain.
You can't control it.
You can't control it. Just control the narrative.
Yeah.
well, one way I would agree with you, Sam, is he's going to a rally that's protesting against his government, and he's saying, "I'm here to rally with you guys. So instead of being back in the parliament fixing the problem, he's out going, well, yeah, I do agree that we've failed here. Like, why would you go to a rally to protest your own government?
But you wouldn't. I know what you're talking about, but you're talking about the politics. It's not the ScoMo situation in Hawaii when the bushfires were happening. I wouldn't call it to that scale yet.
Well, I
think he's lost a bit of confidence over it deep down.
But the other thing is, he doubled down. I mean, I'll play.
Well, he's got to double down. That's the Keating and all that. And
all right, here he is.
I was happy to speak.
Anthony Albanese doing several interviews, not wanting to dwell on the details.
I'm focused on the issue, Carl. It was an emotional day for people, and I get that.
Clearly from the reaction.
Like, he's asked, did you lie about saying I'm the Prime Minister? He refuses to answer.
Yeah, but at the same time, if that was some of the coalition people, he would have to go to the Prime Minister and do a speech on in the parliamentary law and order outside his office, where the Canberra bubble would have been all gone into him.
Yeah,
he hasn't had a meeting with the Canberra bubble.
Yeah.
Like the meeting with the other stuff too. He was in Perth talking to 18-year-old toddlers, journalists, where he hasn't had a press conference within the Canberra Press Gallery who can have a go at him. He hasn't been cited.
No, he's been in hiding.
We've got a comment here from...
I'm looking also at the condescension with which he treated the person that he had mistreated.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He called her emotional.
I wish her well.
He called her emotional. You imagine if Peter Dutton did that.
Oh.
It's just like, wow. And no one pulled him up on it.
Well, he has got, it comes back to the media protectors of the ABC, Guardian, and the 9 papers.
We've got a comment here from
the 9 papers.
Quickly, we've got a comment from John. He says, "It's my birthday. I'm 35. You want to sing happy birthday to John?"
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear John. Happy birthday to you.
Hip, hip.
Right.
Hip. Hooray. Hip. Hooray. There you go, John. Hope you have a good day, mate. But Anthony Albanese definitely wasn't having a good day with this incident. For the everyday voter out there, specifically maybe women, how would they view this?
It's a bit too early. It's only been 3 years after they got chopped ScoMo.
Oh, okay.
I think women stay in bad relationships very often.
Well, this is
just another dysfunctional relationship. I'm sorry.
Here's a question I asked you last night when we spoke. If this had happened in his second or third term, would it be more of an issue, or do people give him a little bit of leeway?
Well,
that's in his first term?
It's a bit more just another cross against another cross. It's like the fall of Rome. It takes a few more crosses until people get to a point.
Yeah, I agree. But if he wasn't a first-term Prime Minister, there'd be more moves against him.
Comes back to what I said. I still think Australians will give him the benefit of the doubt.
Well, his party's giving him the benefit of the doubt. They're not trying to move him on.
He's got the numbers, so I wouldn't worry about that part, mate. And they're not going to change.
No, they're not going to change, but I'll bet you a few of them are regretting they didn't try about 6 months ago.
Don't know, but come back to rule of law. No, Rudd, Gillard, Rudd.
I understand, but this isn't the first term government. This is the third term of the Rudd Gillard government.
As I said, a lot of experience, like the foreign minister, who's an absolute disgrace. I apologise last time. I apologise again.
That was Penny Wong. She's your favourite.
Yeah, was. I think I got that wrong. I thought she's a bit more smart than that, but she's just shown her truth.
Oh my! You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go through every time we've had you on and splice the moments where you say, "I got that wrong."
Yeah, I know.
I got that wrong. I got that wrong. Why do we have you? I'm telling you, Rob Tripp's coming next time.
Good. maybe you can comment on the hit job he did on One Nation the other day.
We'll comment on that.
I think we can talk a lot about.
I think it's a hit. Not quite a hit job, but it's just what's the logic behind it?
Tony says, "Told you so."
Yeah.
So did I.
Adams
But a lot of other people. I've read stuff. Joe Hockey said that some of the core nucleus of some of the people in that party who were third termers, as you say, with the Gillard Rudd, of Wong, Albo, Jason Clare, Burke, and all them. It's already in opposition, and a lot of them have been in opposition for a lot of years, and now I've realised. I think they realised it's hard, but didn't think it'd be this hard.
Yeah, but they haven't done anything.
Well, it's a
bit like the New South Wales government at the moment, because they're in minority government. It's hard to make decisions.
Well, this is Adams put a comment here. He said, "Tell me what good he has done that is good. 3 years in, where is the good? We have nothing but crosses."
Yeah, 2 years actually, Adam. But
well,
your point's well made.
His base would say that and we disagree. I know I disagree with it, but the climate change legislation, the NAC, the National Integrity Commission, a few other things they promised, they delivered.
I'm going to put the link in the chat if anyone wants to call in. Hint, hint, for people that are out there. What I've done, because I want to put this in perspective of other prime ministers, and obviously all prime ministers have situations that are embarrassing, or where they have a situation where it might not expose their character, but at least the perception of the public is that it exposes their character. The first one I've got is a famous one of Paul Keating. Now, Paul Keating was walking through an area, and there was a protest going on, and he calls out, "Go get a job." So this is the Paul Keating one. So now this was 1995, so I was 11 years old. So I remember it, but what was your memories of that moment?
Look, he really didn't cop that much of a hard time about it.
But I remember it being a big deal, though.
Politics,
not really. It wasn't.
There was no internet in those days, no social media, so he could get away with it. The narrative would have been to 3 or 4 journalists at the time, which would have been Laurie Oakes, a young Peter Harcher.
I mean,
who were they? Alan Ramsey.
Yeah.
But didn't the Liberal Party try and use it and show and say that he'd been arrogant in there too long, he was arrogant, he was out of touch?
Yeah, it really didn't cut through that much with the people that loved him, and the people that didn't like him knew he was, he was
an arrogant git.
They already knew that he was like that.
Yeah. So it really didn't change anything. Whereas, I think it was sort of more.
But the Keating years weren't about financial stuff. That was all done in the 80s. He's 3 years when he won the impossible, the unwinnable in 93. Was it 93? Yeah,
no,
93.
Yeah, 93.
Those 3 years, he was all about getting out of. It was more foreign policy and.
Well, let's play.
There was a lot of posturing, I've got to say. I mean, Keating was the best posturer of any prime minister I think I've seen.
Well, you're saying that people already knew what his character was like. Here's the next one. Maybe this was more revealing because this is a guy. This is your favorite prime minister, Richard.
Yeah,
mate, this is just impossible. I get to the very end. It's. Oh, dead. Oh. I can tell these in the embassy to just give me simple sentences. I mean, I've said this before. Tell our interpreter.
I actually don't think that really did him all that much damage.
But that was a clip of it. I mean, there were other stories about him berating flight attendants and things. There was no evidence of that. But
I know a pilot who flew the plane at the time.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
He's a commercial pilot now.
It was the constant personal accounts of him just cracking it with people and just tearing them to shreds.
Yeah, but
bad temper.
Kev, the prime minister, is not what his ultimate job is. His ultimate job isn't ready. He hasn't got it yet.
But here's a question for you, because he came in on a huge wave of support, and his support was very high, but then it dropped off very quickly at the same time.
Because
was it more that people saw more of his character, or was it more that they saw that his policies were just abysmal?
Well,
He promised a lot and didn't deliver much.
yeah, he promised everything to everybody. He promised free beer, a bit like Albo did, but I think people actually believed him. Like even people that were my age believed him. And I just go,
It was the right time, right
Yeah.
place. There was the government Howard had been there for 11 years. It was time for a change.
Yeah.
The mob said enough was enough.
So what you're saying is people don't believe Albanese as much, and that helps him.
I think there are more people that didn't believe him.
Political
than
observers.
Rudd.
like
I
us,
think
we-
Rudd managed to sort of sell his presentation that he was Howard light. He was Howard but nicer, you know.
and it was the first election of social media.
Yeah.
And he spun that world.
Yeah.
Well, he had an excellent campaign, Kevin 07.
Yeah.
Bang, short, sharp.
It's a bit like Gough was in 72.
It's time. Yeah.
This one always makes me laugh. I don't know why, but I just think this is absolutely hilarious, and maybe it's just because I just saw it.
Morning, Gloria.
a long time.
Tony Abbott, the Prime Minister.
Hiya.
Hi,
Mr.
Gloria.
Abbott,
Hi.
I would like to ask you if you'd like your mother or your grandmother to be in my situation. I'm a 67-year-old pensioner, 3 chronic incurable medical conditions, 2 life-threatening. I just survive on around $400 a fortnight after I pay my rent. And I work on an adult sex line to make ends meet. Now, that's the only way I can do it.
So he doesn't say anything. But he
Yeah, but it didn't matter what there was at the time. Then that's when they had momentum. The Turnbull ascendancy was in the background. He had these. This is my opinion. Turnbull was in the background, pestering to everyone else. You know, went to Murphy, the Guardian, went to the ABC, went to anyone who were pro Turnbull, anti Turnbull. It was all
See,
part of
I work on a construction site, so if the boys were talking about that reaction there by Abbott, that's what the boys would do.
That's right.
I don't see. I mean, I can understand why he was attacked about it and why it does look bad, but
now that would be ostracized by. If we did that and that was in public, we'd both be ostracized by women and the male feminists.
Yeah.
And
Like,
that's
I mean,
why,
that's what I mean.
That's why I read something the other week, because Marise and some polls in America and in England and in New Zealand, a lot of men who been told you can't do this and can't do that, they'll say, well, stuff you. I don't give a stuff. I'm voting for who I want to vote for. And these women or these male feminists who's supposed to represent me, I'm not voting for you.
Yeah.
And it's starting to happening here. And they say some of the younger age brackets under 25 are saying, don't tell me. I've been brainwashed at school. I'm pushing back. You know?
This could be a factor.
I got a couple more.
I don't think that's. I personally think you'll disagree with me. That's more 28, maybe 31, but not 25 election.
Here's one.
The narrative's changed a little bit.
Here's one. He wasn't prime minister, but he almost became prime minister. This is Mark Latham.
How are you, Mark? Good. How are you? I'm very well. Good to see you. Okay.
So the handshake with John Howard.
He's told me a few times. He said this publicly, and he said to me privately, that didn't lose me the election. He's convinced of that. He just didn't think. He said there was a lot of mistakes before. Yeah, like he blames a certain pollster in Victoria for stuffing up Victoria.
Really?
Yeah, Samaras. Yeah. He can't stand Samaras. Hates him with a passion.
Ooh.
What surprised me about that whole handshake thing?
But Samaras hates him with a passion too.
The whole lots. You have to get in line. Lots of people hate Latham.
Yeah,
I mean Latham likes being hated.
But what surprised me is when I obviously you see, you know, I was under the leadership of his party at the time, and you can, like, he seems like a calculated figure, and I mean, he does do some spontaneous things, but I often thought, like, there was no real sense behind the handshake. And I wonder why he did it, because he normally is calculated. And then you go and read his book, The Latham Diaries, and it was calculated. Apparently, when he'd shaken John Howard's hand before, Howard had always done it with a very, very overly firm handshake, and he'd even done it to Latham's wife, and he'd done it quite a few times. So Latham was like, "Right, next time I'm gonna show this little bloke." Latham doesn't. I mean, it was in his diaries, but he doesn't talk about that. He doesn't defend it. I think if he got that narrative out there, it wouldn't be such a look down thing.
I know, because I think he'll serve his full term out at 31. A few people have said to me he doesn't think he will, but I think he will serve his full term out unless told differently. Because if he writes a book about his public life, say 2 years, say by 35 he writes a memoir, because I think he'll bail out of public life after 31.
Yeah,
I don't think he'll just sit in the background for the next 7 years in Macquarie Street. But instantly he goes out and he writes a book on every nook and cranny he's done. Do an update from the Latham diaries, what's happened since from 05 onwards, and just thrash out a few things out. And be interesting if he does do that. One last final hurrah. Because I don't think anyone.
I got one more, and this is probably the closest to the most damaging. This is ScoMo. This is just cringe, isn't it?
Yeah. The one this one.
I'm only shaking
Where goes the woman's hand?
What do you do?
I've lost their home.
Obviously, that's his religious belief that you go and shake a person's hand whether you like it or not.
Nah, you just keep him out of the way.
Well, deep down, his first mistake, every prime minister for the next generation or two, you don't go overseas for holidays. Go to Byron Bay. Go to Nelson's Bay.
Yeah.
Don't go east of Bondi Junction. You go west of Bondi Junction, but you're only 1 hour. You're only an hour and a half or 2 hours into
good advice
into the lodge or in Kirribilli.
I heard someone say that
if there's a disaster, you can get to straight office within 2 hours.
I heard someone say the other day that they should designate an area like how the Americans have Camp David or other things where they can go on holiday and get away from the job, because they do need to. I mean, he had a family, had a young family, he had to, but don't go overseas.
It's a pretty good one, isn't it? Somewhere at the back of Yass, where the problem with Yass these is all windmills.
It's too close to Canberra,
but
trying to get away.
Somewhere in the Southern Highlands, somewhere around. Problem with something there. There's probably 50-acre property.
There's some amazing areas out in the Northern Territory, and
no, it's too far. It's 3 hour drive. Well, how far is Camp David to Washington? It's a helicopter, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a helicopter.
So it's not far.
You're comparing a helicopter to a car. I'm sure you can get in a helicopter or a plane or something and just fly and have a holiday.
I think a resort that's built in one of our big national parks in New South Wales,
somewhere down the
Victoria, somewhere like that.
Adam says Lake Illawarra.
Yeah.
Nah, it's too populated.
Tony's got a good one. She said, "Look at how quick Mins came back for Bondi." So he was in Japan, wasn't he?
No, he was on his way to Japan, wasn't he?
I don't know.
Yeah.
He landed and come straight back. So that's a lesson from probably Morrison.
Yeah.
Okay, so the whole idea of
state premiers are, once again, I think politicians will say we won't do the ScoMo mistake. You know, that's going to take a generation so people remember the ScoMo incident of I'm on holidays in Hawaii. You will never do that again.
Yeah. The only mistake I've seen Chris Minns make was not getting on top of that Opera House demonstration.
But he's learnt quickly. He hasn't made mistakes since.
Yeah.
And I reckon that what happened at Bondi.
I agree.
What happened at Bondi, he performed, and I said this to a politician who I spoke to.
Yeah.
I'll name it. What is it? I spoke to my local member around here, and I saw him up the shops here. I said to him, he didn't like it. I said, I think Minns did a better job than Albo did those couple of weeks after Bondi and
he's classy.
He's
very classy.
And there's Ruddock said in the
if Chris Minns was leading the federal Labor Party, they might not lose too many seats in the next election.
That's right. Yeah.
You know,
but if you look at the stuff, and as John Ruddock said in his interview with Andrew Bolt, it's basically a centre-right party, and John won't like what I'm saying, but basically Macquarie Street's run by a consensus of both the Liberal and Labor, and it basically takes the minor parties out of play.
Yeah.
So and you only have to look at the votes of legislation and stuff like that. When the Greens or someone writes an amendment to a legislation, it gets voted down by the two.
You know, I think you guys are playing a little trick on me. You guys have had a phone conversation. You've said to Sam, every time Stephen opens his mouth, jump in on him.
Well, we have a coke.
Well, at least you fired up today. I like that.
Yeah.
But the whole idea of playing all those clips was to put it into a perspective. How damaging is this compared to those? Is this worse? And is this really going to damage Albanese?
No, I think it's just another cross against him.
I think this is a turning point. I really do.
The women's thing.
Yeah, that was sensationally bad.
It
was more his tone deafness, his inability to compensate or to apologize or to make it better, or it's just been a train wreck, and that will come back. People will refer back to that.
Yes, this will be used over and over again.
Yeah,
there's a couple of things, a cross against him.
And the thing is that if he hadn't pretended to be such a nice guy, if he hadn't pretended to be so empathic and sensitive, it wouldn't be so bad. But now there's the rich stench of hypocrisy.
I'm going to get a t-shirt. It's going to have his face from the rally, and it's going to say, "I am the Prime Minister," but I'll get sued for that. So
yeah, you will. I mean, more in Faruqi would sue you for that.
I just can't believe.
Yeah. Yes. That's a good clip.
I think she'll win the. I think that's quick. I think she'll beat. On the evidence I've read on the reports of that Pauline Faruqi, I think Faruqi will win. That's my personal opinion.
On what basis?
Under that
18, she should go back to Pakistan. Yeah. She is a racist,
but under 18C, I think she'll win under 18C. Well, wherever the legislation is.
If she does, then 18C will be first order of business for the next Liberal.
So explain this for people that don't know, Sam, because they might not know who Senator Faruqi is, and they might not know who Pauline Hanson is, and they might not know why they're.
Do we have to talk about her? Do we?
Well, let's just explain what you're talking about.
Well, I think it was Australia Day, around Australia Day, wasn't it? Last year?
It's when the Queen died.
Oh, sorry.
It's when the Queen died. She said, "I'm not going to mourn,
her death."
Her death. She's a colonialist. She's oppressed, billions of people, and got rich off their backs and all that sort of stuff. And so Pauline gave her a serve, deservedly so,
and said, "Piss off back to Pakistan."
I mean, she should go back to Pakistan.
Yeah, but should a senator be saying that though?
I mean,
Pauline does need to realise that she is an elected representative.
I mean, we've got
and
so is she.
I know. I'm just going to say this: we've got a government.
Is this for girl? This girl? Not many people know Marie Faruqi, but she did spend 10 years in Macquarie Street before she went to Canberra.
Who cares?
I'm just saying. So she's an experienced politician. To know
she's not. She's a liar. But anyway, at the moment we've got a government that wants to, bring as many people in as possible. I want an immigration minister that sends people out of the country, like her.
You're a libertarian. You're meant to be for open borders.
I'm an aberrant libertarian.
Oh God, here we go.
That's why I'm.
I've never heard of that one before. Is that on the list? We've
heard 25 different.
There's paleo libertarians. There's fiscal libertarians. There's socialist libertarians. Like what are you again?
Which faction do you belong in that one?
I'm not really in favour of everybody doing their own thing.
Well, then you're not libertarian.
Exactly.
Well, the boss would say you're a socialist, isn't it?
I get called a communist.
Communist.
Yes.
By a certain person.
And I do believe in law and order. So, I don't just.
Okay. Tony's got two comments. Now, let me read them out, Sam. The first one, depending on the thoughts behind the ruling, if she wins, it opens a precedent for both ways. So what she's saying is, if Faruqi wins,
I reckon Faruqi will get these people. The activists will appeal to the is it the federal court,
High Court.
We go from federal to the High Court from this, would they?
But if she wins, what stops this happening all the time now?
Yeah,
because it's not the only case. Obviously, we know about the Mark Latham case with
still pending.
It's still the defamation case there with I've forgotten his name, Greenwich. Yep. But Tony also said, you're going to like this, Richard. I agree with Storch. And I'm glad we have senators who call out their peers.
Yeah, I agree.
But does he have to do it in such a...
Who cares? I mean, everyone's so busy being polite.
They should have some
to each other.
decorum in there.
Everyone's so busy being polite to each other, they don't say anything with any substance. No one actually says what they think.
Well, maybe here's an example of someone not saying what they think, but you can probably tell what they think. This is Chris Coveries, who we've interviewed previously on the ex-candidates, and he obviously he goes out and covers a lot of protests, but he was also at the court, and he confronted Senator Faruqi as she
saw that online.
as she's walking out. This is it.
Senator, are all white people racist?
No comment.
That's not a no. That's not a no. Are all white people racist?
Isn't that amazing? She's a senator in the federal parliament. She's asked a very simple question: are all white people racist? Easy answer: no.
Obviously,
she
not.
keeps walking. No, and how's she going to get attacked if she said no?
I'm surprised Chris Coveries commented on that and being outside the Supreme Court, because generally he goes to these left-wing rallies. Although he did say to me a while back, said I don't go to the real like the university ones now. They're it's too dangerous.
He might not come back.
That's right. That's real. But yeah, reading stuff the last couple of days. It's not the university. It's the activists, who are the real hardcore activists.
But how good is it that we have people out there like Chris who will think to do that? Yeah. Like I wouldn't have thought to rock up at the court case and ask that sort of question, but he's in tune that way, and I think he's got a role to play.
This is what I find so objectionable about someone like Faruqi. She is not representing our Senate, our Parliament, to our people in our country. She's just representing herself.
Oh, I think she's
and herself is pretty disgusting. She is a disgrace.
She represents what I would call as the inner city millionaire socialists.
I don't.
That inner city Newtown crowd, that 5-10 k's to see. That's who she thinks she represents. That's part of the hardcore Greens that are in that environment.
Wouldn't they be white people that she's calling racist?
Yeah, but they think they're
racist by being white.
Yeah.
So I mean, what's she telling them? Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're white. You're a racist.
Well, she can deny now. She can deny. Oh well, I never said that white people were racist, but she didn't comment, so it's clear.
I think we've got the general idea.
Yeah,
don't you?
I saw some testimonies from. She got cross-examined by that Sue Griffiths. Oh, I can't pronounce her last name. I saw her up in Broadway about a month ago, day before the thing, and she says, I'm a proud Australian. I said, well, how? And she basically said, well, what are you doing bagging Pauline and calling us everyone colonialists and stuff like that? And she didn't really answer the question.
Yeah.
It's all politics for him. I know. I tell you what, if you really want to know about Maroon Faruqi, and this is you go to a valedictory speech in Hansard in the state parliament in Macquarie Street, and that will tell you how she operates. She plays her part. And most of these Green politicians are the same. They play it really hard on the floor and in Parliament, but behind the scenes, and it's been confirmed by a couple other politicians in Macquarie Street, what they say publicly and what they do privately are two different things.
Yeah,
but they play their politics really hard, and they play it really, really hard. Double hard.
Back to Albanese.
So if you've got time, I think she left the Parliament in 2014 or 15, I think it was, or 19, to go straight to the Senate. But the valedictory speech was fairly detailed, and it tells you what. It's always a good guide of politicians when they do the valedictory speech and their maiden speech, and you just know what friends they've made and all that. For example, there's a politician that left the Parliament 12 months ago from a micro party, and he was saying how he got on really well with from a person who was total opposite to him. And because he said, I thank this person because he made me from an activist to a parliamentarian.
I get on with Richard. I never agree with Richard.
No, well, these are problems.
Actually, we should bring this up because I'm going to speak over you this time because you're rambling on about Faruqi's maiden speech in the New South Wales Parliament. Who cares? But
you can see the person's character when they do their valedictory speech and maiden speech.
Here's the big thing for the country, and this is your theory.
Yeah.
That we're heading towards a hung parliament.
Yep.
Labor are already at they're at 77 seats or
78.
They're 78. They need 76 to be
75 in the new parliament.
Okay, all right. So in the new parliament, 75. So they only need to lose 3 or 4 seats before they're really in trouble. And you're saying
No,
they're
they're
likely
in a little bit of trouble. If they lose what I think they'll lose, which is I think they're on target to lose 10 to 12 seats at the moment. That's if they hold their position in the polls, and I don't think that's going to happen. So then they go down to 66, and everyone thinks that there's going to be as many independents, teals, and greens as there are at the moment. There's not going to be. We're moving towards a more polarised parliament. So even if they're friends with everybody and they've got to deal with everybody, if they lose 10 to 12 seats, they're already not capable of forming a majority government.
Okay, let's really explain this for people. So there's a lot of commentary. I'm starting to see the commentary now. Paul Murray was talking about this the other night, where they're saying that it will be a parliament where Albanese will have to form some sort of coalition with the Greens and the Teals.
I don't think he'll be able to.
This is your point, right? So you're going further.
I don't think he'll even be able to get there. I don't think he'll be able to form a government, which means that we have a constitutional crisis. And Albo's best female friend has to fire him as Prime Minister.
That's the new Governor General.
Yep. And call an election in 3 months. And I'm pretty sure that it has to be a double-dissolution election.
Oh, no.
So,
well, I mean, if you're in a minor party, you better get that number 1 Senate ticket because you'll be walking into the parliament.
One certain person in Macquarie Street will go straight out of Macquarie Street, and I said, I only need 3%, 5%. I'm the 77th senator becomes the 76th. He said, stuff these potholes in Kemps Creek. I'm going to where I'd rather be in Washington Avenue.
And his friendship with Craig Kelly will be over. Now they'll be rivals.
I reckon that you probably think we can both get in there.
Well, maybe. But okay, Tony's saying which seats are Labor going to lose?
Oh, any seat that they hold with a margin of less than 2%, plus a few others like Patterson. They're definitely going to lose. They'll lose the new Western Australian seat. They'll probably lose. It's. I struggle to see how they could fail to lose 12 seats. And
is there any way the Liberals can win?
No, I don't think
there's a pathway.
I think they could get up to sort of 70 seats, and then they'd have to do deals with all the independents. And I don't really think that Peter Dutton's going to sell his soul like Julia Gillard did to be in government. You know, I don't think he's that type of guy.
Did you notice the other day?
On those terms, I don't want the job. Let's go to another election.
I think he could, if he got to 70, I think he'd go bed. The problem with 70 is he'll have Bridget Archer, who's basically 69. She'll be a rat.
Take off one for Bridget Archer.
Yeah.
He'd have to do what Rebecca Sharkey and Helen Haynes and Bob Catter and a whole lot of other people tell him to do.
Yeah.
And I don't think he'd want that.
Let's go a little bit further.
I think Spender will
stop cutting over me.
It's us two.
I'm going to get a whip next time. Forget the t-shirt. I'm going to get a Sam Bruno whip and I'll just whip you.
F the whip. No, I think Spender will come across.
Yeah, she probably would.
They're all
going to want to have a cup of tea with Peter Dutton every week, if not every day. And he's not going to want to do that.
That's right. Dutton say, I'll invite who I want to invite.
Albanese's so vacuous, he'll have tea with anyone, anytime, any place.
But it's the old Labor Party theory, whatever it takes. But at the same time, there was something the other day in Bondi with the inside Westfield when they reopened.
Yeah.
There was Albo, Mins. Was it some of it? There was something in Bondi. I think it was when they went to the synagogue. synagogue in behind Westfield there. That's at the Great Hall. What's the main synagogue? Just behind
Temple Emmanuel.
It's right behind Westfield there.
Yeah, it's in Bondi Junction. Yeah.
He went in there. Did invite the state member for Vaucluse, Kelly Sloan.
Oh, that was Albo. Albo didn't invite Kelly Sloan.
Guess who else he invited?
Well, Spender.
That's right.
Yeah, of course he did.
So that's one in the bank. For
But that just shows how small-minded and petty Albo really is. You know, that's all that shows.
Most people wouldn't accept.
I mean, why wouldn't you invite the local member? You know, it's like why create a problem? Why have a fight with someone you don't need to have a fight with? You know?
This is why I'm interested in your theory. So let's say it again, that the Albanese can't get to 76 seats. He actually he goes below. He goes 66.
If he loses 12, he ends up at 66.
Yep.
Right. That means it doesn't matter who he does deals with. He still can't get to 75.
So in other words, there's not enough independents and there's not enough Greens to form a coalition with. He can't get to 75.
Yeah.
In that case, you believe that will go to a double dissolution.
Yep.
So the Governor General will have to step in. She will say to Albanese, "Can you form government?" He says no. She says, "All right, double dissolution." In that case, can the Greens pick up 2 senators per state, which is the situation they're in now?
No,
So
they get one.
So the Greens go. I say they got 12 because they've actually got 11, but Lydia Thorpe was 1. So essentially, they're going to have 2 per state. Yeah. If a double dissolution happens,
everyone has a problem child.
Yes, that's correct.
There'll be 2 cents. They'll get their 12% and get 2 cents.
So the Greens will have 1. They'll go from 12 to 6.
Yep.
And in a double dissolution, there's more likelihood that the minor right parties will get elected. The last time it happened, One Nation got 4 senators. Yeah. How will that rebalance the Senate?
Well, it's only be for 3 years. Those ones, like One Nation minor ones. I read something about what Darren Hinch, because Darren Hinch got in on a double dissolution.
Yeah,
and he won 4 or 5% of the vote. And it was a call on the House that the Senate voted on who would have the half term and who would take the full term. Pauline got in on full term because they got 13%. So they said, well, there's definitely one there from One Nation from Queensland. So you've got your full term, and Malcolm Roberts will have a half a term, 3 years. Yeah. And that's how they'll do it. They'll just do it on the numbers. So the majors will make a decision who gets the full terms, and it'll be based on who gets the vote. Yeah. So the 6 senators from the 12 senators from the Greens, 6 will get the full terms and the other 6 will get the half terms.
Here's a question from Tony Richard.
And the minor right parties, for example, if Ruddock got in, for example, he'd just get the 3 years because he'll only get 2 or 3% of the vote.
Yep.
Tony says, could we see a similar government with Dutton at the helm as we see with Lexon in New Zealand?
Different situation though, because that's on the popular vote. It's not based on seats.
Well, we don't know what would happen after a constitutional crisis where the government gets fired. There's a caretaker government. And we don't know how the Australian public would react to having to go back to the polls after 3 months. My guess is their mood would not be pretty.
Almost like what happened in 75 then you're talking.
Yeah, it's the same.
50 years later.
Scenario in the sense that there was a caretaker government for 3 months until there was another election.
I can still remember I was in year 5. And it was just after we had our morning tea. It was 11:15.
Yeah.
And or was it lunchtime? Well, that was. We were in the background. It was a beautiful sunny day in Sydney. And then we were in the playground. And the next thing I heard people say, even kids said, "Oh, Goff has been sacked." And I saw a few teachers and they said, "Oh, what? Goff has been sacked."
But isn't this masterful from the Labor Party that they've got this narrative out there that Whitlam was sacked by the Governor General? Well, yes, but then they had to go to an election and then he got trounced. And then he went to the next election and got trounced.
Yeah.
So it was the Australian people that got rid of Gough Whitlam. I mean, the Governor General certainly had a role to play, but the Labor Party narrative was that the Governor General, Kerr, sacked Whitlam and installed Fraser, and away they went.
Well,
they completely ignored the fact that it was the Australian voters that said, "See you later."
Well, I won't be trite and use the analogy that the Nazis claimed that Germany had been stabbed in the back and had lost World War One because of that, when in fact they were defeated by the British Army. However, what I'd say is that at that time, Australia was more polarised and politicised than at any other time in my lifetime. Everybody knew what was going on. Everyone had a view. Everyone was very upset or very happy about what happened with the Governor-General. So it was very polarised.
Because remember, in those days, there were still people born in the 1800s.
Yeah.
What's that got to do with anything?
Just think about it. 50 years ago, people who were 90 years old were born in 1885.
Okay.
Generationally.
We're talking about
40 years ago.
Albanese, and we're talking about Albanese making a huge mistake. I think Dutton has made an equally big mistake.
Okay.
And that's related to this misinformation, disinformation legislation.
Yeah.
Now, for me, if I was in some sort of role in the Liberal Party where I could formulate policy, this would be one of my top 3 issues to take to the electorate and say, we're going to get rid of this. We're going to take it completely off the books. We get no more misinformation, disinformation. You can throw the digital ID in there and all these draconian laws that they're trying to pass through. But Dutton has come out and said that he will support misinformation. And this is the clip. It's a bit of a lengthy clip because he just kind of waffles on, and the guy answering the question kind of waffles on. But this is.
And then when it comes to the misinformation and disinformation, the government does have, well, it's working on draft laws to try and put in place some much tougher rules for the social media companies. Where are you at on this? Are you prepared to back such laws?
Yeah, we are, and happy to have a look at anything the government puts forward, as we've said over the last week with the horrendous scenes that we've seen. There's obviously AI tools that are available. There's a lot of technology, because you're talking about at scale, and people who get accounts closed down pop up under another name. And
so anyway, he waffles on and blah, blah, blah. But basically he's saying he's open to supporting the bill. Now, as a libertarian, how do you feel about this?
Oh, pretty disgusted. I think the whole thing's just a way for politicians to avoid taking any positions or exposing themselves or doing their jobs. It's just a way of denouncing everything that's uncomfortable and difficult.
For you, Sam, is this a bad move?
It's not great, but I can understand what he's trying to do. He's just. I read something, an article about Dutton, and the problem is with and this is where the Camonsolis, I shouldn't say, but Matthew saying absolutists and stuff like that. He's got a problem with the Liberal Party, and it's going to hurt the Labor Party in the future. You've got to. It's a hard situation. You've got to. What's the for and against to the legislation? What stuff is outright stuffing wrong, or something is? Sometimes people, you're a free speech absolutist, or within
well, I think
reason.
it goes to core values. What are the Liberal Party's core values? Are they going to support censorship? When in history has censorship ever worked? Can you point to somewhere in the world where you said, well, censoring people in that instance, that was successful? I can't think of any. It never, ever worked.
Yeah.
So why are they backing this legislation?
I would hope that he's going to back out of this and disavow it. However, I'm worried that he won't. I would start small and just have personal ID, electronic ID.
So he's got to try and win back some of the supporters of the. Do they? It's all right to talk to someone in the back country than someone saying in the city. They've got to try and win some seats back to get in the government. I know it's politics, but you've got to try and look. I know I'm looking more pragmatism and then being an absolutist.
Got a comment here from Adam Zara. He said, 2 wings of the same bird. Obviously, he's a One Nation guy, so he's going to say that. Look like Antic's wings have been clipped as well. So Alex Antic has come out in support of the misinformation, disinformation. I don't know exactly what he said, but I heard the same thing where it might have not been outright support, but he was leaning towards.
There's got, and he's a lawyer by trade, so maybe you can see we can tighten a few things up. Maybe. Doesn't
I don't like it at all.
I don't like it at all.
Yeah.
I don't. I know, and I had a lot of faith in Dutton after The Voice. I thought he was on the right track. He's slipping in my view.
It's a bad mistake.
If you,
I agree with you that he could campaign very strongly against it.
Yep.
And
answer this question.
Yeah.
Personal question to you, Stephen. Would it change your vote?
Yes.
From a liberal to a minor right.
I don't know who to vote for.
You wouldn't go back to.
But
you wouldn't
I'm in La La Land at the moment.
So you wouldn't vote for Labor Party or Greens?
I wouldn't. No.
No, that's what I'm trying to say.
No.
What would be your number 2 on your vote?
I see what you're saying.
No, I'm just saying.
So you're saying it's not going to hurt them ultimately,
well,
but you can't. But so you're basically saying that someone like me will not vote for the Liberal Party now and will vote for a minor party instead.
Where's your number 2?
But you always talk about preference discipline, right?
Yeah.
And you always say that you need to get that number 1 vote.
To a point, but if you're going to have a protest vote, what's your number 2 vote going to be?
But we know that the votes spray off everywhere. They can't rely on preferences. So this is a bad mistake.
Just say they've got to get primary votes.
They've got to get primary votes. Yeah. They're at the below 40% primary votes.
Sadly, Stephen, I don't think this will be the crucial issue.
No.
Well, it's a long way out from the election. So
I think that it'll be bad. It'll be ugly. It'll have horrible consequences.
Can I ask you
all
this?
that stuff? But I think that the big thing is that we're looking at 3 interest rate rises until in the next 12 months, and that is going to destroy this government.
I can see 1, but not 3.
Warren Hogan reckons 3. He's been right every time. And it's like
I don't listen. I listened to Dave Evans, the ex-bloke from Westpac, and he said 1. He said 1 the other day.
They were saying none, and we were going to get cut 6 months ago. They're wrong.
I had a friend.
They're wrong, and they're going to be wrong again.
Richard, I'll say that same question to you. What I just said to Stephen, would to change your vote?
The ID stuff. Well, I'm not a Liberal Party voter in the first place.
So your 1 number vote will still be Libertarian, but your number 2?
My number 2 would depend on the candidate.
Yeah, but
I voted. I gave preference to Labor last time.
Well, I would never do.
And I also put Liberals last time.
See, this is the thing.
It's
this
like
is a clear example of a libertarian, and I'm not saying that in a bad way. This is what the statistics show.
Yeah.
That the preference discipline, is particularly by the libertarians, but also the other minor parties, is not good. They will do things like that where they will preference Labor ahead of Liberal.
Yep. And it's like I put Trent Zimmerman last because I was prepared to put up with anyone except him.
So you're telling me you put the Teals ahead?
I have to say I was wrong. God. I was wrong.
This really is the house that good soul's going to die.
And basically,
and that's the pragmatic.
I influence 4 other votes. So when someone loses my vote, they lose 4 votes.
Yes, well.
But the point I'm trying to say, will it swing votes either way?
Well, here's a good. My friend called me the other day, and he was telling me he bought a place in Bexley. So Bexley's not the most affluent area.
Middle class. Yep. Votes getting up because
it's definitely.
What's it? 15 k's from.
It's
for sure, right?
It's Barton.
But he is paying $7,000 a month in mortgage repayment.
Yeah.
What's going to happen with further interest rate rise?
So the digital ID bill is not on his mind at all.
Nope.
Well. All of this stuff is on people's mind. It feels like we're getting attacked in all different directions, and there's no alternative.
That bloke paying $7,000 a month extra is not going to be worried over digital ID.
There is an alternative, and that is that no one will get the opportunity to govern, and we'll go back and do a second election straight after. That's what's going to happen.
We've got quite. We've fired up the audience, so you shut up.
Not bad for us on 2 minutes' notice. Thanks for ringing for the last 24 hours.
Tony says you have to ask the big why. Why do they need the bill? What is the purpose of it? Good point. Why do they need this bill?
I'm sorry, Tony. It's a sideshow. The main thing is going to be economics.
Yeah.
In 12 months' time, everyone's going to be an expert on economics.
Yeah.
They're going to be an expert on inflation and trade and everything else, because it's going to become the new thing that everyone talks about, economics, just like we did in the 70s and 80s when the country had a really troubled economy.
Adam Zara says new issues can be manufactured for both parties to campaign on.
Why?
What's
we've got enough?
Well, maybe he's saying that closer to the election, this won't even be an issue because we'll be talking about something else.
That's my point. Yeah, we'll be talking about economics. We'll be talking about interest rates, inflation.
Adam, the digital ID is not going to change many votes, mate.
No, sorry.
Well, obviously,
maybe hard political.
I mean, I'd like to say to change mine. I'd say, I'd be prepared to put everything else aside and say that's wrong and all that sort of stuff, because ideologically, it really offends me.
Yeah.
It really does.
Well, your good friends, the Libertarian Party, think that it will sway votes because they put out this post recently. So that the Libertarians, this came from the federal Libertarian page.
Oh,
so not just a rogue, not a rogue state page. This was the federal Libertarian page attacking Malcolm Roberts over this bill, the digital ID bill. So supposedly Malcolm Roberts voted for the bill. This is what at least the E-Safety Commission. This is the argument that the Libertarians are making. One Nation have pushed back and said, well, it was a guillotine, blah, blah, blah. I think the everyday voter won't understand any of that. So in a way, the Libertarians have really fired the first shot.
Can I say something? Open transparency. Some people around here didn't know what a guillotine meant.
Yeah, I don't know what it means. I don't know. I have no idea. What is it?
I'm going to give you a political anecdote from Senator Barry Goldwater, who was a famous Republican senator.
All right.
And he was describing Jimmy Carter's foreign secretary. There's a guy called Andrew Young. He says, Andrew Young is the only guy who can put both feet of his mouth and still keep talking. It's like,
was that sent by some, coming back to that Twitter from the Libertarians, that came from the person in South Australia?
Whoever it was embarrassing.
Can I ask what was the theory behind it?
They need to get One Nation out of the way. If you, I mean, I can understand the strategy behind it.
Yeah.
The Libertarians do need to get One Nation out of the way.
No, we don't.
Well, to get elected, you do.
No, we don't.
What was the theory?
We need to do a deal with the Liberals. That's what we.
Did you read? No, you want. This is the reason.
Liberals need to do a deal with us, because the bottom line is that last election, Labor got elected with 32% of the vote, and the Liberals lost 22 seats with 36% of the vote. So who's smart and who's dumb?
Did you read? Come back to the tweet, and I might be seeing him tomorrow, but I'm just saying. Did you see that tweet John Ruddock wrote about the comparisons between One Nation and Libertarian? It was early in the week.
What was ventured and what was gained?
Yeah, what I just want to know what the theory behind it was. He says I've got very good friends at One Nation, and they all mean well, but then out loud the differentials between One Nation and the Libertarians. And I thought, and I might be politically naive. I would love to ask him and his advisors, what were you trying to do?
He says it all the time. I've heard him say it a lot of the time that he's got a lot of friends in the other minor parties, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. I just wonder what he was trying to do. That's all. I know it's conspiracy theories and what he meant the comparisons, or is it worried about that One Nation of polling too high of 7 and 8 on an average, which will come down 12 months time.
Well, don't you think they would be jealous to see the opinion polls saying that One Nation could potentially get a senator in New South Wales?
Maybe.
Is there jealousy within the Libertarians towards One Nation?
I think there's jealousy towards everybody in the Libertarians, but it's like, I mean, that's the nature of a minor party. They've got nothing at stake, so they can afford to indulge themselves with all sorts of pettiness.
I even got attacked by the Libertarians this week.
I know you did.
Did you?
Yes. Let's have a look at this. It doesn't want to play for some reason.
Okay.
Well, maybe the Libertarians got in there. And...
in their penthouse.
Yeah. The gremlins are in the system. Let me try and bring that up again. Hold on. Here we go.
You've got a fifth columnist in your computer.
Maybe it's just Facebook.
Michael O'Neill came on the X-Canvas and told us this story where a politician was speaking to him. And he said, Michael, you do realize that the big pharmaceutical companies will send in a very attractive girl, dressed very, very nicely, holding a nice glossy brochure that might be only a page or two long, with very short, sharp points. And they often come bearing gifts and little trinkets, and they'll take you out to dinner, and they'll show you a nice time. And then the other side comes in, they're disheveled, they're not dressed up, they don't really care for that sort of thing. They're holding wads of paper with all this information that no one's ever going to read, not whether it's a busy politician or just the everyday person. I've seen it myself. I've seen people go up to politicians at rallies and they'll be holding stacks of paper, all this information, and it's usually torn and bent and got stains all over it. I don't know what people have done with it all, but no one's going to read it all. They don't have time. And that's the problem. All of these politicians see are these lobbyists. And I often think about Governor Jesse Ventura when he came into power in Minnesota. He banned all lobbyists. Why can't we do that here in Australia? Cut them out. Say if you're part of big pharma or big business or whatever, you can't have direct contact with a member of parliament. Members of parliament are meant to represent their constituents. They're not meant to represent big business.
So from that, I got a comment on by the Libertarians, the Victorian page of the Libertarians that said, and now Facebook's hiding it from me again, JFC, what a terrible take. Now I had to Google what JFC means. It means Jesus effing Christ. This is coming from the Libertarian page, using the Lord's name in vain, or what?
It's a little unedifying, isn't it?
Well, I thought so. But regardless of that, what is your take on lobbyists as a libertarian? Is it a terrible take to say that we should ban lobbyists?
Well, they don't have the influence in this country that they do in the States because they don't have as much money. But that will change over time. I would rather have it more open and transparent. And so,
well, every minister and every member of parliament has a ministerial meeting. At 10 o'clock Monday morning, I got a meeting from the One Nation Christian or the Christian Lobby Group or the Minerals Council.
So here's the thing that I probably should clarify, because I got some really good feedback about this from Jemima, who we've interviewed previously, and she said, "Look, there's good lobby groups out there." And I probably should have clarified that, although I did talk about big business in the clip, I was more talking about big business lobby groups. I'm not talking about everyday activists or smaller activist groups or lobby groups that are maybe sticking up for women or domestic violence, or those sorts of lobby groups. It's something completely separate. I'm talking about big business that has big money that can have big influence.
I can tell you a story. A family, close outside family member works for Woolworths. I probably shouldn't have said that. She's a lawyer, and she was on project to go because the government changed the industrial relation laws 12 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And they said to go to Canberra and meet up our lobby team in Canberra and go and talk to people from the senators and see if they can change. You can change their a bit more balance in the legislation. And she was the B team. The A team were the ones who are going to change. It was the Jackie Lambies, the Pococks, who have got the final say on numbers. but she got told to meet these other people, and she met Senator Babette and Pauline.
Mm.
But she learned how. She told me this was over Christmas lunch, and she said to me, "That's how close I am to within the family." And she said, "This is what we do, and this is how we talked about it and stuff like that."
Mm.
So there are. I think there's some legitimate reasons of lobbying. No?
Mm.
From
big
business.
I think it's really just
because it's there's not really a balance though, because big business can go and have this direct access to politicians where everyday people can't.
Are the unions entitled to have both say? Ms. McManus is technically most union. When you're secretary of the ACT, you are basically a de facto member of the.
Well, if I was the prime minister, I wouldn't dismantle unions, but I would dismantle the links between unions.
No,
and
just
their
tax
influence.
them. Just tax them. I mean, all they are is insurance brokers and labour hire.
If you want to tax
anyway,
if you want to tax the unions, you got to tax the Christian, the church groups and stuff like that.
I'm good with that.
Yeah,
I'd
tax free
get the
status. There should be no tax free status. You're saying
I'd be getting the tax department to have a good look at the non-for-profit sector.
Oh my oath, there's
Hey, I know there's a lot of libertarians that will be screaming at going, we shouldn't be taxing anyone.
Well, yeah. So what? So what?
You're a communist. You're a communist.
You're a communist libertarian.
And coming from the penthouse too.
I mean, if the Libertarian Party actually got round to actually throwing people out of the party, I'd probably be top of the list. And say you're seditious,
especially if they watch this podcast.
They don't watch it, do they?
Nah,
they don't. Do they?
Okay.
They used to early on.
Did they?
Adam,
they're probably too busy.
Adam says lobbying should be formal meetings with minutes on public record.
It is on public record. I'm pretty sure Pauline, she told me that it was an organised meeting with Babette and Pauline that day.
Here's a hypothetical for you.
To finish it up, the B grade team were younger people to learn the ropes of how to lobby and stuff like that. The A team were with Pocock and Lambie.
Okay. Here's a hypothetical for you. If I was elected, I've thought if I was going to do any negotiating as a member of parliament, I would have a little webcam sitting there and stream it live.
Oh, that's confidentiality.
Why? I mean, they're meant to be elected representatives, and all this stuff about it's meant to be confidential and top secret and blah blah blah. It should be transparent. The public should be seeing what deals are going on.
I agree with you. I think there's no substitute for sunlight and oxygen.
Yeah.
If anyone's got anything to hide, well, why? It's like if you don't want to get into the kitchen.
For example,
if you don't want heat, don't get into the kitchen.
Well, for example, if people, this lobbyist, this girl from Woolworths, who's just started out, and she's getting filmed and she's giving questions to Pauline or Babette saying this is that, and then they'll say, well, why'd you say those sort of questions to these politicians? And then Pauline or Babette would say, oh, what do you mean by that? This part of the legislation of the industrial relations law.
You can always have off the record conversations. You can go for a coffee or a drink or something like that and have an off the record.
Well, outside the parliament, but if you're in your own office, it should be fully recorded.
Yeah.
I
mean, we live in a free country, and people are still inclined to say, "Look,
does that happen?"
I'm not comfortable, going any further with
I've
this.
never asked this.
Go and have an.
Do lobbyists go to Macquarie Street or the state parliaments?
Probably.
Yeah, I just wonder. But more prominently, it's in Canberra then.
I mean, the real lobbying goes on at council level, and I'm sure that needs lots of oxygen.
Well, a lot of
they've banned. So in the state parliament, they've banned property developers.
Yeah, you can't. Once again, a relation in my family, he can't go.
And some people push back against that. They said if the property developers could speak to government, we'd get more property.
And I, for a fact, that this person, a close member of my family, he knew he was getting bugged by ICAC. And it's been convicted that one of the Canterbury councillors.
I know Adam,
and the CEO and the mayor.
I know Adam's probably working right now, but I'll put the link in the chat. If anyone wants to call in, we would love to talk to you and have a chat. But this is an obscure one. I haven't run this past you guys, but this is Q&A recently. This is Stan Grant's wife. Her name is did I write down? Tracy. Yeah. Yeah. That's
Tracy Holmes.
Yeah.
Tracy.
Yeah, this is her.
I saw a snippet on Twitter.
Tracy Grant
Yeah.
is now.
To us.
Tracy,
there is a big debate now about what goes on X and whether we should be doing more regulating of the internet. What's your view?
I don't agree with any kind of censorship in a general sense. I don't think Elon Musk is contributing to any social cohesion split inside this country. I think our media, our mainstream media, is doing enough of that. I think our politicians do enough of that. When you talk about people being able to have different perspectives and different points of views, and it's okay to have that, and yet we don't see that in politics ever. We don't see it in mainstream media. We see this absolute divide to the point where people are starting to think that when they read in the newspaper that it's unsafe for women to walk down the street in this country, people start believing it. And that kind of fear is what is leading to social cohesion breakdown in this country. We have to stop the fear. And whoever's doing the fear-mongering is what we've got to stop.
I just want to take you to the women.
What
Will she ever be back on ABC again?
I was just about to ask that. You know, it's like, I mean, she definitely didn't.
I just noticed there's a good friend of mine sitting there in the audience. Oh, I didn't. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Lives in the inner city.
Lives in the Northern Beaches.
Oh, okay. A Teal.
Listeners. This is that's her name. Tracy is my new hero.
Yeah.
So people out there liked what she said. You could see the other panelists didn't like what she said.
Well, because they're not used to that sort of stuff on the ABC or Q&A.
Yeah, particularly that full Speakman. You know.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, what a waste of space he is. I mean, Chris Minns could do 10 laps around him before he even woke up.
Yeah.
Well,
sorry to say that, but
he'll leave Parliament, I reckon.
I would never give the Liberals my vote at state level while he is there, ever.
Well, you're not giving the Liberals much of a vote by the sounds of it anyway.
Would you vote for the person that lives around here?
Who? Tim.
Would you vote for Dutton over Albanese?
Probably I'd vote for Tim, but I'd tell him if Speakman's there again, I wouldn't.
I would think Speakman do this one term and then he'll resign that in 27 and go back to the
all right.
And he'll probably find it.
Can you be quiet for a moment?
No.
Can you be quiet for a moment? We've
No.
got a very special guest on on Commanding the Narrative, making his first appearance. Mr. Adam Zara.
I had him. Welcome.
How you going, mate?
How you going, gentlemen?
Good, mate. Working?
Hold on. Sorry, guys.
He's at home, is he?
He should be a pro. Every time someone comes on the ex-candidates, he's like, "What I want you to do is I want to take your phone and turn it landscape." So, and then he.
I can't. You're at home?
Yeah, he's there.
He's at home.
Yeah, I just got in from work.
Okay. Raining out there?
Yeah, it's raining, mate. Sorry, I'm using my phone because it's terrible. I'm used to using computers, but there we go. Sorry, guys. How are you?
We can hear you loud and clear, so that's good.
What's up to, mate?
Well, I thought I've got an opportunity. Just finished work and I just popped home, and then as soon as I jumped on, I got a phone call. So that's why it went all AWOL there. But great show so far, guys. You know, not really talking too much about Albo. You're talking about a lot of other different things, but that's all good.
We don't have an agenda.
There isn't much to talk about. That's the problem. There's no substance there. There's no essence. There's no views or values or morals or anything. There's just nothing
I completely
there.
agree with you, Richard. I completely agree with you.
I mean, he is the worst prime minister I've ever seen by every and any measurement. He is appalling.
So why aren't we comparing him to other prime ministers or other presidents or other leaders of the world
Because
who've been
anyone
newly...
else would be better. I've seen prime ministers since 1971, and he is definitely the worst. We've had two good prime ministers, and we've had a whole lot of mediocre ones, but he's dreadful.
Have we had prime ministers that are damaging the country as much as this one?
You could argue that Whitlam, Rudd, and Turnbull were costly, but this guy doesn't even have the capacity to have much impact. The country's just sort of drifting along to this sort of mess that's going to be the next election, and then the aftermath of it. I mean, he just doesn't have even the ability to be influential.
Adam?
Yes.
Are people hurting out your way? Cost of living?
I'm hurting out my way. You know what I mean? Like this is serious stuff. Like I can honestly say.
People, we're talking about.
God, you can't even let him talk.
No, Adam, I'm talking about places in the Clacker and stuff like that. Around that in those areas.
So this is what I'm saying. So I am a small business owner. I have multiple contracts. People would consider to me I earn good money, and I'm struggling. So how would people who are on benefits, people who are injured, people who aren't of great health, people who are vaccine injured, okay, who are how would they be faring? I can tell you they're faring bloody poorly. It's and we're coming into a cold winter despite the narrative of global warming, and people aren't going to be able to afford their electricity bills. We're going to see it all again. Do I feed the family or do I rerun the heater? It's that's the word on that's what's going on around here.
We're about around on that side of the freeway, but we're on out towards Camden and out that way, down those new estates down at Tarmore and all that vicinity around that way.
Well, we are Campbelltown, Greater Macarthur region, and we can lump, I guess, Wollondilly into that as well. Yeah. Sorry, I'm looking at you. I'm sorry, it's really weird on the phone.
Anything south of Raby and all that sort of stuff.
Their mortgage, so what will get them is they can probably afford, let's face it, right? Like there's probably wealthy-ish areas out that side. So people, good jobs, probably mum and dad both have incomes, probably got it, reasonably under wraps, but there are mortgages.
A lot of tradies out there, isn't there?
Well, the tradies, but they're also, the building game's slowed down, so you're going to see the tradies start to feel it. I can see that I'm part of the building game, I guess, as well in the finishing side of things. That's slow. It's worst I've ever seen it. It's worse than global financial crisis. And, Jip rockers, well, Trippy, that. Jip rockers are slowing down a little bit, I guess. We've got electricians who are freaking out because their work's slowing down. We've got tilers who are losing big contracts with builders that have been building. I speak to all kinds of people, especially with the trade that I do. I'm in and out of people's homes all the time. And this is what's happening. I've never seen it. I remember I was doing a job out Bradbury way. So Bradbury, that's, so we've got where I'm at, St. Andrews, you got the Clacker and all that kind of stuff. And then you're heading out to, Campbelltown, Bradbury. They were sitting down while I was at the house working, talking about remortgaging their house so that they could try to free up some money for expenditure for cost of living. And that was probably just at the start of the rate rises. I'd hate to see what it'd be like now.
Adam, you're going into these people's houses as part of your job.
Yeah.
Are you seeing a lot of shared accommodation, or people are putting people in like maybe an Airbnb or a rental situation where they may have a spare room? I know one guy I knew out who was working with me when we were working out near Liverpool. He was living with a family, and they were partitioning the living room with sheets to even stick more people in there, and they were charging about $150 a week rent back. That was 10 years ago now. Going into people's houses, I know you're not going into their bedrooms and things, but are you seeing any evidence of that?
No, I haven't seen so much evidence of that, but I am seeing a lot of granny flats being built. So, at the moment, I think Australia's come from a very, very strong position, and I think that we are feeling the effects of a lot of policy, 50, 60 years on. and I think it's we're starting to feel the pinch now. And I think personally, it's going to go into a pretty big decline, especially with net zero and all this kind of stuff that affects the dollar and the way it's spent. I think we're getting a lot of granny flats now. So the thing is that in the older suburbs, we have the blocks of land where you could put a granny flat on there and try to make some income that way. And don't forget, you've got the massive amount of outlay just to get the granny flat put in. So you're going into more debt to try and create a bit more cash flow. So I think when we see interest rate rises further, that's going to slow that process down as well. Because don't forget, most people may own their own home and go into a mortgage to put a granny flat on, which puts them back into that standard of interest rate increases, and then they're going to build.
One would hope it's cash flow positive, so that's neither here nor there. What I'm sort of more interested in is when people start having to take in lodgers to make their mortgage payments, and also when they have to move out to try and avoid and go and rent somewhere else to try and avoid having to sell their home. I think that's where we're going.
Well, I have seen a few people, let's say acquaintances of mine, not so much friends, but acquaintances, that have had to sell their homes and go into the rental market because it's too expensive.
Yeah. Adam, those granny flats, is that more on your side of the freeway or on the other side of the freeway? I'm talking about those states around Harrington Park, Oran Park, or they're just too small.
I don't reckon those kind of properties have. I don't think those properties have enough land.
Yeah, they're the
to meet council requirements.
A bit like at Rouse Hill and stuff like that, where they're basically built on top of each other.
You'd need at least 700 square meters to put on a granny flat, wouldn't you?
Yeah, because what I know that one of the rules in my council or local government area is if you build a granny flat in, it still has to be 3 meters away from a fence. The back wall or something of the granny flat has to be 3 meters off the fence. So if you've only got an 8 meter wide backyard or depth backyard, where are you going to put it?
Yeah, exactly.
They won't let you build on that.
Well,
Adam, you said we weren't speaking enough about Albo. What's your opinion of what happened at the march and the rally there, where he obviously said, "I'm the Prime Minister"? Firstly, what's your view of it, and have you heard anyone else speak about it? Maybe people around Campbelltown, what their views are.
It was like a "Don't you know who I am" moment. Like you're in the line at a club and go, "Don't you know who I am?" No, I think no. I haven't heard really many people speak about it. Not even clientele have really spoken about that. Most of the clientele around the area and the people that I work with are really like, why haven't we got nuclear yet? Or why aren't we going into nuclear? So they're talking about things that I think they're talking about more about things where they feel they can save money or that might be more cost effective for their children in the future. Not so much about, nitty gritty politics of that
This
nature.
goes back to maybe what I think it was Richard was saying before. People are not interested in all these other issues like misinformation or Albanese at the rally. What all they're concerned about is their hip pocket and the money coming in and the cost of living.
Well, I think they are concerned about it, but they get mugged by the reality that they're struggling to find a way to live.
Yeah.
It's like,
Adam, anyone on, especially on your side of the freeway, saying about, I'm not going to vote for Albo next time, or is there a bit of is there any anti-Albo out your way? Especially on this side of the freeway.
Look, I think they're pretty rusted on.
Yeah, that's right. Fair enough.
I really do. I don't. I think the biggest factor is going to be cost of living. I think I think everybody believes that net zero. I don't care if you're left or right wing politics. Everyone's starting to tweak the fact that net zero or renewable energy is not going to be the promise that was promised to us by the government, as in cheaper electricity bills, cheaper this, cheaper that. So I think this is where that's where the results. That's where it's gonna. That's what's gonna lie. If Liberal came out next week or after its estimates or whatever's going on at Parliament House this in the next sitting, and said, all right, we've gone over everything. We've gone over everything. We've decided that net zero is not the way to go. We're going to push hard on nuclear. We're going to put everything else on the back burner, and we want to bring nuclear forward, and we're going to figure out the way to power Australia into the future at a more cost-effective rate. That's the winning move. I think that's where they're going to win. Not on. I agree. Not on digital ID. Only people who are aware of what digital ID means, of what central banking currency means, and things like that. What the next election is cost of living, and the next election will be how are they going to fix the energy.
I'm going to ask you a loaded question, Adam.
Yep.
What will it take for rusted-on Labor voters that you encounter to lose faith with this government? Will 3 interest rates in the next 12 months do it? That's a loaded question.
I got to be honest with you. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not a Labor voter. I haven't been a Labor voter since I was probably ever.
Try and get into their heads.
Well, it's hard. Because you got to be really careful what you say. Because sorry, I've got my daughter yelling at me out through the door there. 1 second. Sir. Can I do finger now? Yeah, go. Yes, you may. Sorry, guys. Hey, it's politics, work, and parenting. It's all fun and games. I'd love to be able to. If I knew the answer of what would change a Labor voter's vote, I would be campaigning on whatever it took to get that to happen. So, because it's a mentality.
Well, the Labor Party have already tried to lie that they can control interest rates. So, I don't see much fertile ground for you there, mate.
Maybe the $175 reduction in their electricity bill will help.
Yeah.
Adam, is there any notice maybe on the other side of the freeway?
Oh, get over this damn freeway.
What's defined
You're
by
such
the
a
two areas?
pollster. That's all you care about. No one else cares about what side of the freeway is this and that.
There is two defining areas of Campbelltown, one on either side of the freeway.
Steve's about to ask you to play in the middle of the freeway.
Do you agree? I'll do it if you want me to. Do you agree with that? There is two differences, aren't there? Out there? You know that, Em. Difference between Raby and down the Clacker and stuff like that.
Well, no, because what happens is, don't forget too, we were a very highly council, housing commission area. Sorry, guys, 1 second. Oh, 2 seconds, baby. Give me 2 seconds. I'm going to come in. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, guys. This is really unprofessional. Yeah. Look, it's defined by that you have high. What do you call it? Like, dole receivers, and we've got council housing and stuff like that. I think it was a very high. We were highly densified like that. I think there was massive numbers of those kind of that side of people who require need handouts to survive. And then now what happens is the demographics changing. So we are having bigger areas where people are actually more professional, more tradies, doctors, lawyers. I mean, we see Lamborghinis and Ferraris driving around the area now, whereas we used to have to go to the eastern suburbs to see those kind of things. So the demographic has started to change. That could be a factor in maybe the next election, whereas people are a bit more switched on. But I found that they've kept, those kind of areas are outside of the MacArthur and Campbelltown electorate. Actually, they're more in the Wollondilly side and Camden side of the electorate.
Well, the redistribution might go out that way. MacArthur might go more west.
I think that would be a positive thing. That would put us. That would. I think you would find us maybe go marginal.
I'm just saying though. I think the redistribution. Well, the redistribution can't go east.
We'll know in a month. So until then, there's not much point in speculating on it.
Yeah.
But
anyway, Adam, we know you have to get back to the family.
Sorry,
and you'll be working hard all day. But look, mate, we appreciate you coming on and giving us your insights, and we can tell that you're starting to get into campaign mode, which is where we see the best Adam Zara, in my opinion. So thanks for calling in. Maybe next time we can organise you to be sitting here with us.
Yep.
Yeah, no worries. Let us know, guys, and we'll sort it out. But keep up the good work. You're really entertaining to watch. So and keep it going. Not like those old ex-candidates. They're a bit old in the hat. But you take it easy, fellas, and I'll catch up with you all soon. Okay.
Thank you, Adam.
Cheers, mate.
Adam.
I'll ring you soon.
Yeah. Thanks, mate.
Now, Mr. Buono, before we've finished up, because we're at the hour and 40-minute mark now.
Oh, gee, really?
You wanted to speak about Steve Christou.
Yes.
Be interesting what happens next couple of weeks. He's campaigned on this sort of stuff, and he's getting a bit of pushback. I read an article in the Saturday paper today.
Oh, I hope they call him a racist. Wouldn't that
No, I just think it's against the law, anti-discrimination, and there's a protest that
he'll love all that.
Any publicity is good publicity.
Well, Chris O'Keefe really went after him on 2GB the other day.
I know there's going to be an anti-Christou meeting, and he's doing a counter meeting. There's Cumberland Council meeting on Wednesday.
I think I like Steve Christou. I get on very well with Steve Christou. Yeah. I think he's made a miscalculation about going after this specific book. I think there's other books out there that he could have gone after and conveyed a very similar message. This book, as far as I understand, I haven't read it, but from what I can try and gather by reading articles online, is that it's mainly focusing on same-sex parents. So look, there's kids out there, they're going to have parents that are of the same sex. They can't, that's unavoidable.
All right, Steve.
It's unavoidable, but they can't help that.
The point is not whether the book is the most offensive or somewhat offensive or partly offensive. The point is that he took a stand on it to represent the people that voted for him.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yeah.
But he said it was sexualized.
Let me finish. And the point is that everyone keeps crapping on about diversity and how we've got to have all these different views. Well, that's a legitimate point of view. You might not agree with it. You might not like it.
No, because his point was that it was sexualizing children.
It is.
How is having same-sex parents sexualizing
children?
You're
about to find out. They pick up everything. And the best thing you can do for them is to let them be children for as long as possible.
But if you have same-sex parents, you can't change that. That's your life. That's your experience.
And what you remember
is having same-sex parents really sexualizing you?
No.
Okay, there. So this book is the wrong book to target. You should have targeted one of those other books that are pushing, how to dildo yourself and how to finger. And I know that sounds horrible, but there's books out there that are like that.
So that would have been more offensive. The point is,
it would have been more appropriate for his argument.
It would have been a stronger argument. I agree with you, but the point is that you don't need to introduce the complexity of same-sex marriage into the mainstream of
but he's feeding into his base. That area voted big no for the same-sex marriage.
Okay, too. Tony's saying 2GB also did a poll which gave him 80% support. His electorate are 60% ethnic. And she said, yes, Storch is spot on again.
But what's
no, I think I don't think people are going deep into this enough. I think this book, from what I can gather, is just talking about same-sex parents.
So you and I are not offended by that, and that's fine. That's not what it's about. What it's about is giving children the opportunity to stay children for as long as possible. And if they don't have to deal with the complexity of same-sex marriage, don't make them. It's fine if they've got same-sex parents, and I hats off to anyone that wants to be a loving parent in any situation.
What about kids that go to school and little Johnny over there has got two dads?
Well, they'll have to work it out, won't they?
Well, this is what the book's about, trying to, instead of them teasing little Johnny that he's got two dads, the book...
That's not how it goes.
All I'm saying is that it was the wrong book. And apparently he admitted that he didn't even read the book. Yeah, so that is,
he was quoted that.
I mean, he needs to be called out for that. I mean, he targeted the wrong book. This is a serious issue. There are books out there that definitely need to be targeted, but they're the ones he should have gone after.
Okay, he would have had a stronger argument. I said that in the first place, but that's not the point. The point.
I agree. I mean, they shouldn't be sexualizing kids. The whole The whole issue, all this LGBT.
Anyway,
I mean,
for
the LGBT movement, what makes you LGBT, whatever the letters are, is your sexuality, is who you go to bed with.
Yeah.
And when you're a 10-year-old kid, or even a 15-year-old, maybe 14, 15, do you really know what sexual, sex that you're attracted to? Like if you're 14, do you know if you're gay or not?
There's a lot of blokes that don't care. They want anything they can get.
At 14, though?
Yeah. That's when they
Or
they
7?
They really
At 7?
They really can't.
Does a 7-year-old know what sex they're attracted to?
No, of course not.
So I agree they shouldn't be exposed at that point.
Well, I mean, what's the big deal? It's like if you've got most parents that are male, female, and you've got a couple of same-sex men. Well, Johnny's got two mothers.
Tony says he represented his constituents' concerns. He did his job. Okay, Tony. But what about he has to represent all his constituents?
No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
Sure, he does.
He doesn't. He only has to represent the ones that voted for him.
Yeah,
he's an elected representative now, and he calls him. He makes the point. He always says, "I'm not a politician. I'm an elected representative." And this is the point that I had against Sally Stegel when she was trying to kick me out of a forum because I was unvaccinated. My point was, unfortunately, Zali, you're the elected representative of Warringah. You have to represent the people in your electorate. So if they're unvaccinated people in your electorate, you may disagree with them, and you might say that they're wrong, but you need to at least accept that there are people in your area that are unvaccinated, and you can't treat them like lepers. So Steve Christou has to realize that there are going to be same-sex couples in his electorate with children.
Yeah, but he'd be saying, I'm representing 60% of the majority.
That's not the
So
point.
what's he going to do next? Burn them at the stake?
The point is he's not having a stab at same-sex couples. He's just saying we don't need the literature in our library. I mean, what's wrong with that?
Can I ask a question? The political side of it.
Why does Cumberland Library have to have all this stuff in it, the same as the Northern Beaches Library or the Inner Sydney Library? It's like they can just leave it.
I think you need to.
As you said, this is not Marrickville and Newtown.
Yeah.
To put this in a historical context, what books did the Nazis burn in the lead up to World War II? In their famous book burning. What books, what content did they burn?
They weren't really that discriminating. They just
they focused on this sort of stuff.
Of course.
So do we really want to go down that path again?
No one's talking about burning books. We're just all I'm saying is
you can say that
there's
the
a legitimate case for not having certain books in certain libraries in certain areas.
In this case, we're just purely talking about same-sex parents.
Do we have to? Why is it so important?
Well,
do you want to become one?
I mean, I think that's a juvenile comment.
Can I ask a political side of the question?
Sure.
It is a juvenile comment.
What's in it for Steve Christou in the long term? Publicity?
Publicity.
Definitely.
But
he's going to land somewhere. Where's he going to land?
Sometimes you can try and get too much publicity.
True.
Though there's an old saying, any publicity is good publicity.
True, but it's like, you've also got to play the game and be noticed. I mean, it is Hollywood for ugly people. Steve's not ugly.
He could. I mean, but he could have targeted like that. I forgot that the girl that wrote the book, but the Welcome to Sex book. Why couldn't he have targeted that one? That have images of penises and all in all different sizes and shapes and blah blah blah. Target that book. Go after that. You'd have my full support if you targeted that book.
I'm done with juvenile comments.
But I'm saying,
you can't help yourself.
Where is Steve going to land in the next 5 to? Where's he?
Well, it's clear that he's gunning for One Nation. He's going through all their events. He's speaking at their events monthly. So he's trying to get in there from looking outside looking in.
I think this is going to be very amusing watching One Nation try and sort of represent the sort of Middle Eastern areas of Sydney.
Well, remember Middle Eastern areas are some Middle areas. I know Cos Samara said that there are some non-white people who are voting One Nation in Western Melbourne.
Sure.
Western suburbs of Melbourne, northwest.
Sure. That's their target territory. That and the hunter.
Yeah. No, I just think what's Steve trying to do to an end game? Is it trying to get? Obviously, he doesn't want to be. He wants to get into politics full time. Is he looking to go to Macquarie Street, or is he looking to go to Canberra?
There was that protest where I think they were protesting drag queen story time, and that he got a lot of traction with that. So maybe he's just trying to keep the momentum going.
Sure,
but I think he's made a miscalculation.
Fair enough.
Yeah, he could have picked a stronger argument. I agree with you about that.
But the people behind him, we know some of the people behind him that I thought they would know him a bit better. There's some hard-nosed people behind him.
Well, everyone makes mistakes, and I guess we'll see if it's a mistake.
There's
or
no
not.
telling what the Greens are trying to do is their angle.
He certainly got publicity.
Yeah,
but
does the proverbial hit the fan on Wednesday when there's going to be pro Christo fans and the anti Christo fans that come from Newtown and Marrickville? A bit like what happened before the election at that church.
Yeah, well,
with Latham.
He's got to be careful about that. He's got to be. I mean, if this is going to be a showdown between the two, he needs to be very careful.
I say, bring it on.
Yeah. But I think that was a hit job by. I think.
And you don't think they'll do a hit job on
Christo? Yeah, they'll get them out of the universities for a couple of hours and get them out there.
See, this is a huge thing with the
professional
abandon the Gaza protest.
Yeah,
good luck with that.
I reckon they'll say we need 30 or 40 hardcore to know what they're doing. We want you to do this, and that, and so let's get out of here for a while. We'll go out there for a couple of hours and come back at 10 o'clock at night.
So are you suggesting that there's an abundance of ratbag causes?
Oh yeah. Well, I know someone, a copper in the city, and they said when they go to these protests, you know who the ringleaders are. They're wearing a different shirt on that day, and then they go for lunch and they go to another one in the afternoon if they have to.
Actually, the cops were very impressed with our rally on Sunday. They said how pleasant it was to be there because nothing was actually.
No one was there.
There were 400 people.
400.
Big deal.
Yeah.
Well, on a wet Sunday, I thought that was pretty good.
All right, we're almost at this.
Can I say one last
This
one?
has flown by today. Almost.
Can I say one last
hours.
thing of politics?
Just go. Yeah, talk over me.
Yeah, very quick. Again, I reckon you've spoke too much today. I reckon personally, that's another issue.
Well,
it is my show.
That was the idea.
The guest is supposed to talk. The guest is supposed to talk. The guest is supposed to talk more than the narrator.
Who taught you that?
Me. Critical week this week. The budget week this week. Not just Chalmers' speech on Tuesday. One of the more critical, it'll be Dutton's one on Thursday.
Yeah, I agree totally. I mean, the
budget reply.
The Labor Party have bet the house on
that's right.
Budget. They really have bet.
If they go in May, they can put another bet. They can announce a budget in March next year.
Well, they think that this is going to recalibrate the government, and it's like they're so good at believing their own nonsense. I mean, they're so conceited, and Chalmers is conceited in a different way to Albanese.
Would Dutton come back to Dutton's side? Do you think Dutton will announce anything on Thursday?
Yeah.
Basically, does he do it?
I'm hoping for a declaration of war.
Okay.
I know you love Tony's comments.
Yeah.
You're just enthralled by Tony's humour.
I love Tony.
I'm not. Tony said Stephen just did an Albo. It's my show.
Yeah, you're the Prime Minister.
Good on you, Tony.
My word is my bond.
It's my show. All right. Well, thank you everyone for watching. But before we finish, Richard, you want to maybe just throw out there as a final thing to pick Australia's best prime ministers.
Well, John Ruddock.
We're talking about.
John Ruddock reckons that Lyons was the best and his protege was Menzies, who I think was the best, not because of what he did, but because of the fact that he didn't try and do very much. And when he did do something, he made sure it got done right. So that's the ideal type of leader. And Ronald Reagan was very similar. It's like they try and do as little as possible, but when they do something, they get it right.
What about Curtin and Chifley?
Curtin and Chifley had their pluses and minuses.
But that was through wartime.
But it's really a case of getting a triumvirate. You need not just a good prime minister, but you need a really good treasurer and you need a good finance minister So most successful prime ministers have always had those three things. Good
Yeah.
prime minister,
I know
good,
for a
good
fact.
treasurer, good finance.
I know for a fact Latham.
Yeah.
He got on well with Keating, but he adored Senator Peter Walsh.
Yep.
From
Peter was the finance minister in the
Finance
Hawke
minister.
government.
Hated the left.
Yeah.
Hated the Labor left.
Mm-hmm.
And he said
They hated him because they'd come in with spending proposals. He'd just go,
they'd
no.
piss off. Basically, I'm running the show. You're not spending it.
Yeah.
And as Latham said, he hated lefties than me. So I loved him. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
For me, it's Menzies and Howard and Daylight for third.
Hawke was good.
I was a bit. Hawke never ever did it for me. I was a bit young.
You've got to look at the successes and achievements.
We got off the sheep's back and got back.
Hawke does not interest me at all.
We'll have a long discussion about this. I'll turn your mind around.
He was.
I lived through it.
He's
and I
almost
didn't like him at the time.
The Godfather. The Godfather of Australia.
But he's easily the best Labor prime minister, and he is easily probably one of the 2 or 3 best prime ministers.
That's exactly right.
Ever had.
Yeah.
Okay.
He reformed the economics. Him and Keating behind the Keating.
They did all the stuff that the Liberals are too frightened to do.
It's like the QC and the barrister. The barrister was Keating, and the QC was Hawke, who spun it the right words.
Okay. All right, everyone, please go to this Eventbrite page and get your tickets for the Environment and Energy Forum at DYRSL. It was a great event last year. It was really fantastic. This year is going to be even better, in my opinion. Malcolm Roberts is coming down from Queensland. Barnaby Joyce will be there. Dr. Peter Ridd will be there. Everyone from the IPA, Daniel Wild, Brianna McKee, they do some really great stuff at the Institute of Public Affairs. Check them out. They're going to be speaking. Some really great experts on nuclear energy. Professor Stephen Wilson, Tony Irwin, Dr. Mark Ho, Paul Vallejo. There'll be farmers. There'll be community groups. A whole bunch of stuff going on
politicians?
there. Malcolm Roberts and Barnaby Joyce. But there may be some more announced, so stay tuned for that. But get your tickets. They're only $20. If you are a concession, it's $5. So I think that's a really good deal. And then, look, if you're in the area, please come along. It'll be a great event, and I think you won't regret it. Also, head to the T-shirt shop. Get your Sam Buono T-shirt. Next time I have this, it's going to have a big circle around it with a cross through it. But you can get your ex-candidates T-shirts there. You can get your Command and Narratives T-shirts, just like this one here. Wear it around. If you can get a photo with a politician or a notable person with this T-shirt, and you can get them on the show, you can come and guest host. But how about that deal, huh? Yeah, pretty good deal. You didn't even have to do that. You just said, "I'm Richard Storch. Here I am. Put me on."
Thank you, Stephen.
Tony, one last thing from Tony. She says, I want a T-shirt with Sam saying I was wrong about that
one. What can I say? You're right, Tony. I'll give you that one.
Okay, and on that note, please share this around if you enjoyed it, and we'll see you all next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.